When you think of the animal kingdom, your mind probably goes big, right? Whales, elephants, dinosaurs. But today, we're flipping the script. We're going in the opposite direction, zooming way, way in to look at two creatures with backbones that are so tiny they push the absolute limits of what we thought was possible for life.
So let me ask you, how small can an animal with a spine really get? Take a second. What are you picturing? A field mouse? Maybe a hummingbird? Well, whatever you're thinking, think smaller. No, way smaller than that. Prepare to have your entire sense of scale reset.
Okay, first up, meet our first tiny giant, the new Guinea Amau frog. And when I say small, I really mean it. This little guy averages just 7.7 millimeters long. To put that into perspective, you could fit one on a US dime and still have plenty of room to spare. It's an entire amphibian, living its whole life on a truly miniature scale.
And for our second contender, coming from a completely different class of animal, we have Kitti's hog-nosed bat. It's also known as the bumblebee bat, and for good reason. It's officially the smallest mammal on the entire planet. I mean, just look at it. It's so incredibly delicate, it almost looks like something out of a fairy tale. So let's put them head-to-head in the tail of a tape. The frog takes the record for length at that minuscule 7.7 millimeters. The bat, on the other hand, wins the prize for weight, or really lack thereof, tipping the scales at only about 2 grams. That's less than a penny. So you have two champions, an amphibian and a mammal, both absolute masters of the micro-world.
So this begs the question, right? How on earth do you even find creatures this small? It's not like they just wander out into the open. Well, their discovery stories are almost as fascinating as the animals themselves. It's a real-life detective story, full of luck, clever science, and a lot of patience. For the frog, it was all about sound. Scientists in Papua New Guinea kept hearing these super high-pitched calls every night that they were sure were insects. But when they used special microphones to triangulate the sound, they realized it wasn't a bug at all. So they had to resort to literally grabbing handfuls of damp leaves off the forest floor and staring into them until, finally, they spotted this impossibly tiny frog hopping around. The bat story, though, has a much more sobering side. It was discovered back in 1973 in one specific cave in Thailand. But here's the shocking part. By 1981, not even a decade later, scientists went back to that exact same cave, and the bats were gone. They had completely vanished from the place they were first found. That was a huge, flashing red light that this tiny mammal's existence was incredibly fragile. You know, being this tiny comes with enormous challenges. Because you have so much skin, or surface area, compared to your tiny body volume, you lose heat and water at an incredible rate. So what evolutionary tricks do you develop to survive? Well, it turns out these two have found brilliant but totally different solutions. The frog's secret weapon is something called direct development. What that means is it completely skips the tadpole stage. There are no tadpoles. This is absolutely crucial because it lives in damp leaves, not a pond. So it hatches from its egg as a perfect, fully formed, miniature copy of an adult, ready to hop from day one. And don't you dare let its size fool you. This little frog can jump an unbelievable 30 times its own body length. 30. That's the human equivalent of jumping over a 5-story building. It's an absolute powerhouse in a pin-sized package, which is exactly what you need to navigate the forest floor. The bat's strategy is completely different. As a warm-blooded mammal, its entire life is one long battle to save energy. Every calorie counts. So its solution? Just limit its activity to incredibly short, incredibly precise bursts. Just look at this. This is the bat's entire workday. It flies out to hunt insects for about 30 minutes right around dusk. Then it flies back to its cave for the night. Right before dawn, it goes out again for just another 18 minutes, and that's it. Less than an hour of on time in a full 24-hour day to find all the food it needs. Talk about extreme efficiency. So even though these two tiny giants are similar in size, the worlds they live in could not be more different. One lives in a super stable, unchanging microclimate, and the other has to survive a landscape of really dramatic seasonal swings. For the frog, its entire universe is the damp layer of leaf litter on the forest floor, and it has to be. Its number one threat is drying out, which can happen in minutes. Its survival is completely, 100% dependent on that constantly damp, humid environment. But the bat's home in western Thailand, it goes through this radical transformation every single year. It has to survive in sparse, dry forests during the summer and then suddenly adapt to a dense, wet, rainy season. And through all that change, it has to find its way back to the exact same limestone caves to rest.
And this all brings us to a really crucial point. When you are a creature that lives in such a tiny, specific little niche in the world, the threats you face can be enormous. Your very size and specialization make you uniquely vulnerable. Now, if we look at this conservation scorecard, we see two very different stories playing out. The frog is currently listed as least concern. Why? Because its home in the remote forests of Papua New Guinea is just vast and relatively untouched. The bat, however, is listed as vulnerable, and it's facing a direct assault from human activity.
See, the bat's entire population is concentrated in just a few specific caves. They're also really sensitive to disturbance. So any disruption from tourism, from deforestation nearby, can have a absolutely devastating impact on their small, fragile colonies. A line from the research puts it pretty bluntly. While there are natural predators for the bumblebee bat, quote, humans may be the worst. The pressure from people, whether it's tourists or even scientific collectors, has been intense, and it's putting this tiny marvel at serious risk.
So, after all this, after exploring these two miniature marvels, what's the big takeaway here? Why should we care so much about the world's smallest frog and the world's smallest mammal? Well, the lessons are pretty profound. These tiny creatures show us that life can adapt to the most incredible extremes with some truly unique solutions. Their stories are a huge reminder of how much biodiversity is still out there, just waiting to be discovered. And the bat's fragility? Well, that's a powerful warning about our own impact on this planet. And that really leaves us with one final lingering thought. Remember, the Amau frog wasn't even discovered until 2009. That's really recent. So it has to make you wonder, how many other tiny giants are out there living unseen in the world's hidden corners? And maybe more importantly, as our planet keeps changing, how many will we lose before we even get the chance to find them?